This is breaking news.
Happening right now, Mayor Adams is expected to make an education-related announcement with schools Chancellor David Banks. Let's go to it right now.
Our school. The additional services for other children in the building will also be impactful. I know firsthand that no matter what age a child gets the service, it can make a difference. Unfortunately, my other two children did not get services early in their experience with dyslexia. My adopted son, Robert Thomas, learned to read at 17. He was a homeless youth living on the streets, but due to his gift in basketball, he was fortunate to go to a boarding school where he learned how to read. He attended a public school for most of his early education career, but it went undiagnosed. My son, Sean, who is 26, learned to read at 10. What I want to say to everyone is that dyslexia is not a parent's problem. It is a societal problem. Sean, my son Sean was blessed that once we did receive the services, which were very expensive, I worked 2 jobs just to provide it for him. He went on to be an honor roll student in middle school and high school. He graduated from Fordham University. And my dyslexic 17-year-old son is a graduate of St. John. And he today is a public servant. He works for New York City Department of Homeless, serving homeless families as a reminder of where he came from. I say to you, when you give a child the services they need, they can become anything. I think that this program is an excellent opportunity for District 5 families. It can become a beacon of hope for children like my son Dylan. And parents like myself who value public education. The fact that students can stay in their own community and get the services they much need is not only a success, it is a blessing for us.
Thank you so much, amazing parents and caregivers. And now I'm going to introduce State Senator Holloman. Nope. Sorry. Now I'm going to introduce Assembly Member Carroll.
Good morning. I'm Assembly Member Robert Carroll. What a difference a year makes. Thank you so much, Mayor Adams and Chancellor Banks. And I had some prepared remarks, but I want to talk to the parents first just for a second. Because this issue, so often, there was only one set of folks leading the charge, and that was mothers and fathers. And so thank you so much, because we would not be here if not for generations of mothers and fathers who stood up for their sons and daughters. And of course, I'm one of those sons. I was so lucky, so fortunate. At the end of first grade at PS 230 in Brooklyn, I had a teacher who plucked me out of a class and said to my mother, "I think your son's dyslexic." But that's unfortunately where my story diverged from so many others. My parents had means. They were able to get me tested. I was able to go to a school that had an evidence-based, structured reading curriculum, and it made all the difference. Because dyslexic students can be successful. But that was a long time ago, and there's no reason why any student should have to leave their local public school to be shipped off somewhere else, to feel alienated, to feel segregated, to learn how to read. It's a human right, it's a civil right, we know how to do it, and God damn it, this mayor and this chancellor I know are. I am so thankful to all the people's shoulders who we stand on today who made this possible, who makes it possible to make sure that we screen every child for dyslexia, who makes it possible that we provide them with an evidence-based structured literacy curriculum, because that's what students need. This will make a world of difference to so many children and give them agency so that they can go and live productive and happy lives. Because dyslexia is not a curse. It's only a curse if it's not remediated. And that's why I stand here, and I know the mayor would agree, that we are forged by dyslexia. And that forging makes us all the stronger. And today we're going to make sure so many other children are forged and strong to go out and lead our city. Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. Thank you so much, Chancellor. Thank you to all the moms and dads.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Carroll. And now I'm going to introduce Assemblymember Simon.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Mayor Adams for the attention he has brought to this, and to, along with Chancellor Banks, to this very, very critically needed comprehensive approach to identifying our students with dyslexia and then providing them with the right kind of support and empowering teachers with the tools they need to make that difference in their children, in the students' lives. The parents, thank you so very much. The pain that you heard in these mothers' voices, that is the pain that too many of our parents suffer, and the pain that the children suffer by not getting the help they need to learn to read. Literacy is a social justice issue of our time. It is what keeps kids back. We know that between 15 and 20% of our population have dyslexia, but we know that nationally, and even here in New York State, only 5% are identified. So that tells you we're missing 15% who aren't even getting identified, let alone the right services. So this is so important. And Mayor, what you are doing here today not only will change the lives of the children who will be the first in these new programs and getting this service, but it will change their lives going forward so that we will not have the problem of failing to educate and being answered by incarceration. This is critical. Thank you so much. You are making an enormous difference in so many lives, and I'm very, very proud to stand here with you in support. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Assemblymember Simon. And now I'm going to introduce Assemblymember Stevens.
It's okay. Oh, it's all right.
I am so sorry, Councilmember Stevens. I got to get it right.
No worries. It's okay. Good morning. I'm Councilmember Stevens from District 16 in the Bronx, and I'm also the Youth Services Chair in Council. Today's a great day for so many young people across this city. I'm pleased to be standing here as we announce with the Mayor and the Chancellor to have a more comprehensive approach to support our young people with dyslexia. I was diagnosed with dyslexia in my freshman year in college, and I was told that it was probably missed because I spoke so well. Finding out that I had dyslexia made so much sense. For so many years, I felt like I was running a race blindfolded. So this investment today is so important for me. Investing in our young people is the most important thing that we can do to have an equitable city. And I will continue to fight and stand with our mayor and our chancellor as we do that for all our young people across the city. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Stevens. Now I'd like to introduce Councilmember Abreu.
Well, welcome to District 7. I would like to really acknowledge here our amazing and hardworking parents, teachers, students, and of course to Principal Leopold, who is amazing, by the way. So today is a big day. Today is a huge day. I was held back in the 4th grade for failing my state reading exam. And so I had to repeat the grade. I have ADHD that was only diagnosed when I was in college. And a lot of reading comprehension issues are not detected very early on. And to have the level of investment for dyslexia screening and the resources is a big day for New York City. It is massive. And I know that in our Mayor Adams, he campaigned a lot on his story. And now he's making these policies a reality. And we have the best damn chancellor the city's ever had. He's a District 7 resident, by the way. Look, the truth is, investing in this means kids will learn more. they'll earn higher incomes, they'll be less likely to engage in crime, and they're more likely to achieve their goals. Today's a big day for New York City, and I'm just so damn excited. When I spoke to the Chancellor a few months ago, I said, Mr. Chancellor, the biggest issue right now in our city when it comes to education is our lack of investment in returning to science-based reading, phonetic-based reading, and we are making that transformation today. Thank you so much.
Did we get everyone? Everyone? Well, listen, I know we were long, but, you know, we wanted all people who are involved in this to just have an opportunity to humanize this issue. Because you look at the council person, the assembly personnel, and you tend to believe that, you know, their story is just a storybook story, and not that they have gone through their same struggles as well. And we're learning from each other. But it would not be fitting to conclude this without bringing on Debbie. Debbie has been an educator for all of us in understanding this issue, and I cannot thank her enough. We questioned her, we asked how, and she has just been a real champion for these families over and over again. She's educated all of us on this issue. And so, Debbie, please come up and say a few words.
Wow, I'm in tears. My son, like these mother's sons, didn't learn how to read at school, but he learned how to think in a public progressive school. He was a great thinker. He could not read. We switched him to the Windward School for kids with dyslexia. He learned how to read. Between the two, he got to Bard High School early college. I want that opportunity. I want the opportunity for all our struggling readers to go to our great middle schools and our great high schools. They're segregated because we leave so many kids behind not learning how to read, and they can't get into them. Once these kids learn how to read, we're going to have to build more great middle schools and more great high schools. And I look forward to the day where every kid gets to go to a great middle school and great high school in New York City. Thank you all for coming, and I'm excited. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was wondering, beyond the specialized programs that you and the Chancellor have mentioned today, are there any plans for school kids who might be diagnosed with dyslexia and then can't make it into one of those programs because they're filled up? Is there any plans for support for those students who will remain in other regular public schools, if you will?
Yeah, the programs that we're announcing today, the very specific places that we're going to have a full-on build-out are one thing, but there's going to be professional development across the board, across the city. And so, it's a huge effort. This is the largest school system in the world. We can't do it all overnight, but we have a full-on commitment, even beyond the students who are part of this particular programs, to ensure that the teachers get the training that they need as well. So everyone is going to be screened, but the interventions really have to come from the teachers, and that comes from the level of professional development and training that they get. And we have a commitment to ensure that all of the teachers, including the teachers who are not just teachers of reading, understand how to teach for students who have dyslexia.
In terms of high schools, is there a plan to screen in the high schools as well for older kids?
Yes. And it's so interesting, as you've even heard a number of the speakers today who said that they were diagnosed in high school and college and even being older. It's amazing. We think of this as an issue, for the little ones who were here, as an example, who I have to tell you, I was just beyond impressed that they were able to sit there that long. Right? They were just great kids. But yeah, so we're going to try to capture as many of our kids as we possibly can. We have a lot of work to do in this area, but we're committed to doing it.
And what we're doing also, I am speaking with Jamani Williams, the public advocate. we're looking to do screening in our jail system. We think the correctional facilities, we want to partner with some of our state reps here to look at our state facilities, because if we don't start correcting the behavior that put people in jail, then they're going to come out and do the same things that go back to jail. So we want to see how we can expand this to Rikers, see how we can expand this in all of our state facilities, so that we can start giving people the support that they need. And that's the next step, that we want to partner with our city council members and our state lawmakers so that we can look at those two locations as well.
I actually have two questions. The first one is for Chancellor Banks. The second one is for the mayor. Chancellor, I know you and I have talked a lot about this, but we both know that there are more learning disabilities than just dyslexia.
That's right.
I wonder if you have any plans to deal with the vast array of other learning disabilities that people in New York City schools have.
Absolutely, and we will be. In fact, I wanted the Deputy Chancellor for Teaching and Learning, Carolyn Quintana, to come up, because she's really leading the effort for us at the Department of Education on this, and this is it's even greater than what we're doing on dyslexia. You want to speak to that?
Sure. Thank you for the question. And I think we talked a little bit before the event. What's really important about all of this work is that we're addressing literacy as a whole. We want to begin, and we're identifying an issue that is very prevalent and that we know we need to tackle, but we're starting with an awareness campaign. We have partnered with Made by Dyslexia, who is offering free training for all teachers, which we will have in place before April of 2023 for all teachers. Then we're going to begin developing a team that will have intervention specialists as well as those literacy coaches and specialists for grades K through 12. So in the past, we've only had it in select grades. Now we will actually have literacy coaches in grades K through 12. That will help with all of those literacy issues that we have in our classrooms, whether you're in elementary school or in high school. Those intervention folks that will be trained, we're going to use a train-the-trainer model so that it is something that is also sustainable. We'll be able to support folks in the schools directly. So for those kids that you mentioned won't be part of those specialized programs, they'll have an opportunity to receive those kinds of supports through those intervention specialists. In addition to that, we're still working on building out some of those other programs that have demonstrated success, that are those inclusive and integrated programs. So for our students who are on the autism spectrum disorder, on the spectrum rather, we'll have, we're going to continue to build out our programs that have been successful so far, so NEST and Horizon. Teachers will continue to receive training, not just for literacy purposes, but for other types of strategies that they can use to intervene, to support kids. And as was mentioned earlier, our kids have superpowers. We just have to unlock them. And so the more we can teach teachers how to do that, regardless of what class they're in, what program they're in, what grade they're in, we'll actually catch those issues earlier on and let them unleash those superpowers earlier on, so that they don't have to wait until college or even afterwards to find success. And so we'll absolutely continue to do that work. And I think it's something that's really important. Regardless of what we put in place, it does not mean that we are not paying attention to the other areas. And that's really important to emphasize here. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I know that you have talked about the fact that you had frustrations dealing with dyslexia. I wonder if you've ever thought about the fact of how your life would have been different if you were able to access the programs that you are announcing today.
I think that if I would have had those support earlier, right now, we would be not saying just Mr. Mayor, you'd probably be saying Mr. President. But seriously, sometimes the reason you heard the passion in these teachers and in these mothers, I don't know if people know the emotional trauma of a child and the mother's watching. My mother used to watch, my mother had a third grade education, and she didn't know what she was, when I couldn't, read, she didn't know what she was doing, staying up late at night with me, but having her by my side made me feel different. And, mommy would just sit there and, just go through the motion, and, it was just such a moment. So what you see with these mothers, nothing is more devastating than the mother feeling helpless. Now, these mothers had the fortitude to, push forward. But if you are a mother, where English is the second language, where you struggled in school, where you don't have the resources, where you're living in a domestic violence situation, where you're living in a homeless shelter, and you just watching your babies not being able to move forward, I'm telling you, it's just a traumatic experience. And so this is not just an academic achievement. This is an emotional, psychological achievement that we are accomplishing. And so if I didn't have to wait, as Councilwoman Stevens stated, if I didn't have to wait until I stumbled onto this in college, God only knows where I would have been. But I also think about those of my friends who were not diagnosed, and how many of them, every year that I moved up, I started to lose more and more of them to going down the wrong pathway. And so I don't think it's about, Eric, you were able to get where you are. I think it's more about those who were unable to get where they should have been.
And I just want to make sure, I was in the corner, so I just want to make sure I heard it. Are you asking if there's a specific phonics-based curriculum that we'll be using? Yes. So, yes. Across grades K through 2, we're going to be offering a handful of options, many of which are already part of our core curriculum. And so we'll be asking principals to make selections, and we'll be reopening those selections if they haven't already made them for phonics instruction. And so those include programs like PAF, they include Ready for Reading, they include Foundations. Now these are very explicit phonics programs, and so they do need to be coupled with a comprehensive literacy program as well, a comprehensive reading program. And we're addressing writing too, and so we want to make sure that's the base level, right? That's that tier 1 piece that everyone should begin with. And then as we need greater intervention, you'll find, particularly in the schools that are going to, like the LAC is opening up, you'll have more minutes, more often throughout the day, and much more comprehensive, for example, use of PAF that is grounded in Orton-Gillingham methodology. So yes, we will have selections for them, and it comes with training, and we will have a train-the-trainer model so that we always have support to provide both in school and then outside of school as well.
This is, I guess, a more broad question. Seeing the news, people are reacting almost in disbelief that this wasn't already in existence in the nation's largest public school system, having this universal screening. So do you want to speak as to why this hasn't existed before? What kind of barriers?
Let me tell you why. As I continue to say over and over again, when I use that analogy of we spend a lifetime pulling people out of the river instead of going upstream, preventing people from falling in. Look at who's falling in. The assemblyman said something that was pivotal, that was crucial. He said that was where the pathways divide. Families like Peter's and others, they can go and pay for these training. These mothers and fathers of means, you're able to pay for them. So their voices are not really heard. But when you look at the number of people, like I said, look at the prison population. They're overwhelmingly black and brown and poor. So these were the voiceless. There was not a sense of urgency because when you looked at who was impacted and not receiving the support, they were black and brown. And so when you don't have that level of urgency and seeing the inequities that are happening to these groups that are basically, well, we write them off. That's why here you come along with a dyslexic mayor, a chancellor that grew up in a public school system, that lived among those who were the voiceless, and now are saying we're going to give voice to them. So this was ignored. because the children that were impacted did not look like the people who were making these important decisions. And that's the reality. If people want to acknowledge it or not, we got to acknowledge it. And so if I'm allowed to do a commercial, that's why we need male accountability. You have a chancellor and a mayor that's focusing in on those students that historically have been denied for many reasons, and one of those reasons is because they were among the voiceless.
All right.
Okay, we'll do some more talk.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay,
Good stuff, man.